Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we are talking about OpenXR and its potential impact on the AR and VR industry. There will be links in the description if you want to jump around to any specific topic. Today we're going to be covering a few major topics. What is OpenXR? How does OpenXR compare to other applications like Vive? What are the benefits to the consumers, the gamers, the developers, and the publishers? And finally, we're going to talk about some other VR industry standards and why we should really care about this topic. OpenXR is a royalty-free open standard with the goal of removing VR and AR fragmentation from the industry. This will standardize AR and VR development through the means of an application interface and a device plugin interface. In layman's terms, what this simply means is a developer can produce an application in the engine of their choice and know at the end of the day it will work on any piece of AR or VR hardware. So one of the immediate benefits is that this is an open standard and there is no power struggle here. The industry is not being forced to use any specific APIs or develop across multiple different APIs. Historical standardization led to things like a more robust internet that we use today with some of the HTML5 standards. You can now use basically any browser of your choice and a website will load as it's supposed to. Now we should also see wider and more robust HMD support. Rather than developers having to focus on getting their game to work across multiple pieces of hardware, they can simply rely on the OpenXR standard. This leads to more optimized game ports and the increased potential for cross-buy titles. Now, when it was announced that Superhot would not be a cross-buy product for the Oculus Quest, I defended this position based on the end product. The quality of Superhot on the Oculus Quest is extremely close to the PC VR version. Obviously, the developers took their time and made sure to release a good port. With open industry standards for development, this practice of denying a game from being a cross-buy title is less defendable. Now when it comes to PC VR, I am completely against exclusives and I've made the argument that development across HMDs is actually quite simple. This is a sentiment that was actually confirmed by a recent developer interview for the game Aerobots, and I've even oversimplified this as far as saying when you develop a game, you don't have to specify the monitor and the speakers and the controllers. While VR development is more complicated than that, developing to support multiple PC VR headsets is already pretty simple, and this just brings it one step closer. Removing both the development complications and the API power struggles, there truly is no reason for there to be PC VR exclusives, and the industry can focus on competing storefronts, no longer fragmenting the PC VR player base into Oculus versus other. One of the things that I constantly heard when I objected to the fact that Oculus was going to produce exclusive titles was statements like, just use Revive. Revive's a thing. Has this guy not heard of Revive? Unfortunately, Revive is not close to perfect, and in fact, it's emulation. Unlike OpenXR, which is looking to provide native support, Revive tries to trick the Oculus Store into thinking, no, this person is truly using an Oculus device. And this leads to a myriad of other issues. Currently, over 25% of the Oculus Store titles have either not been tested on Revive, only function partially, or do not work at all. Revive is always in a constant state of flux between breaking and fixing products. New releases may not always work, and many titles that have been out for quite some time are still not playable. The Revive user experience also varies greatly. I actually have a segment on YouTube where I discuss what games work on Revive and how well they actually function. Feedback is always mixed. There are plenty of people who are using similar hardware, the same headsets, and report a range of different issues, everything from controllers not tracking, button presses not working, stutters, performance issues, you name it. OpenXR is the only true solution. So a simple rundown of the benefits of OpenXR include games being available on more hardware, simplified programming for developers, and both publishers and developers can see increased revenue from distributing their game to a larger audience and reduce development times. To give you a real-world example of a VR problem solved by standardization, would be the new virtual link cable. Many VR users, myself included, have experienced issues with both their USB port or not having enough display ports for their VR equipment. My original Vive would not work correctly with my motherboard USB ports. An issue I spent countless hours trying to resolve, both alone, with the help of Reddit, and the help of HTC. My only viable solution was to get an additional PCI USB card. Now, HTC actually supplied me this PCI card, something I'm sure they didn't do for everybody, and most likely only happened after I blew them up on Twitter. But oddly enough, my Valve Index will not work with this PCI card, yet works fine with my motherboard USB ports. And by fine, I mean I have to unplug it and plug it back in every time I'm about to play, otherwise it tells me the headset is not connected. But other than that, it works correctly. Now, the industry has acknowledged this issue. They understand that the USB standards are not good enough. New video cards going forward will include a virtual link port, a dedicated port for connecting your VR hardware. This eliminates external breakout boxes, additional power plugs, or the need for a USB port. The USB controller is being included in the graphics card. And at the same time, you're not going to run out of display ports for your 12 monitors. And this is just one simple example of how standardization can really benefit the industry. Now, there is one major piece that we are yet to discuss, and that is AR. Unlike VR, AR is extremely new, and it's truly not implemented anywhere. VR has gone through about 4 years of growing pains. AR has the potential to step into the industry already standardized, making that gap between when you get supported hardware and good applications much shorter compared to what we saw with VR. Now, moving forward, we have to worry about adoption. Basically, everyone and their mother is openly supporting OpenXR. Every major player in the VR industry is listed. Now it comes down to OpenXR delivering on their promise. But if all goes well, the future is bright. Okay, everybody. As usual, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. I want to hear your feedback. What is your opinion on OpenXR? Is it going to go nowhere? And if you like these types of videos, you like my content, go ahead, subscribe, maybe ding that bell, and I will see you guys on next time.